Hey, my name is Nikki. Welcome to my little slice of heaven here. I am a personal trainer and a nutritional coach, and I actively work as a paramedic since 2010. And that's what led me on this endeavor in the health and wellness industry. And because it stirred this passion in me to help people with preventative maintenance before they get to that point of, where we're seeing them in a clinic or in the back of an ambulance. So, mi casa su casa, welcome. Today we're talking about the 10 negative self-talk habits that could be completely sabotaging your efforts for yourself, not only in health and wellness, your weight goals, but in other areas of your life. And there's so many of us that are doing this and we don't realize it. And that is what is ultimately driving us to this failure and to give up. And so that's what we're talking about today, is going over those 10 negative self-talk habits. And the first one we're going to go over today is called the all or nothing negative self-talk habit. And how to ninja kick that bad habit right in the throat. So first of all, the all or nothing self-talk is, say you trip up and you were doing really good with your diet, and then you slipped up and you had a big bowl of ice cream at nighttime, and you beat yourself up and you say, I slipped up, I had a cheat day, I'm a loser, I will never lose weight. That's the all or nothing, because you are encompassing your entire self in this one mistake that you made. And that is, if we actually take a step back and look at how absurd that is that we do that to ourselves. It's amazing that we talk to ourselves in these ways, but I've done it and so many other people have too. So a good thing to do is you take a step back and you see how much merit, how much weight that statement actually has. Just because you slipped up one time, does that encompass the entire person of yourself? Does that mean you're a complete failure? Or did you have a slip up? You had a small failure here. That's okay. Another term that we actually need to get rid of is failure. This is where, or we shouldn't look at it in a negative way. This is where we need to say, okay, people fail, make mistakes. It's trial and error. You pick yourself up by your bootstraps and get moving. Next is overgeneralization, which this is really similar to the all or nothing mentality too, but this is where you would say to yourself, so this is where you're letting your past predict your future and encompassing everything. Like I've never lost weight in the past, so I will never lose weight in the future. And you're giving this negative prediction of your future because you're not associating any successes from your past to yourself and connecting that to your identity. So the way to kick those right in the teeth is you have to realize it doesn't matter. Say you've never won at anything, you've never been successful, which is guaranteed. I know this is not true for anyone on the face of the planet, but let's just say that you have never been successful at anything in your entire life. Does this predict your future? Absolutely not. Are you in charge of your future? Do you have control over your future? Yes, absolutely. And so this realization that we have to have is that, so there's an exercise that I teach people to do, is you write down successes. Even if you don't have any weight loss success or nutrition success, if you won a competition when you were in school, or if you got a good grade on a paper, something that you worked at that you actually had success in that area, this is what helps us to realize, like, okay, I have the potential to work at something and to actually achieve it. And so this is where we have to get to this in this place, is realizing it does not matter. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. We're headed towards the future and we have control over that. The third type of negative self-talk that we can do is called the mental filter. And this is where we kind of relates to what I was just talking about also. This is what people typically tend to do. So the mental filter is where we are only looking at all of our failures and not recognizing any of our successes whatsoever. So it's that mental filter. You're only seeing and letting through those negative events and letting it define you and your identity. And you're not even seeing the wonderful things that you've accomplished in your life and that you've done in your lifetime. And so this is where you have to, again, recognize that, okay, I have this negative feeling inside, and where's this thought coming from? And so you have to take a step back and you have to go, okay, that's not true. I have achieved these things. And sometimes we have to dig because we're in such a rut and we're so used to talking to ourselves so poorly that we have to dig a little harder sometimes. But once you actually get into this movement of going, okay, yeah, I did really well at eating for a week, eating good, healthy food, or here's one for me, because I've been busy lately, I've slipped up and I've been just going and running to the store rather than cooking at home. And I've been running to the store and going and buying sandwiches and pre-made stuff, which does not make me feel good inside, but I'm human just like everybody else. And so rather than beating myself up, I have to go, okay, I know that I've been successful and really successful in the past about cooking meals at home, and it makes me feel a lot better. I know I can do this because I've been there before, been there, done that. So I have to remind myself, okay, get back to that place. You feel better when you're there. So just find whatever you can and think about the things that you've accomplished. You are an awesome person. You really are. I truly mean that. Like, you have done some awesome things in your life. And number 5 is where our fifth negative self-talk habit is mind reading or jumping to conclusions. And this is where one of the most common things that I hear is, let's say you're new at a gym, or you go to the gym and you think that everyone is looking at you, calling you a fat slob, or judging you, or saying some sort of negative judgment towards you. And this intimidates people into not pursuing going to the gym and working out, or even going and running on the side of the road. They don't want to run around people because they're afraid of this judgment, or they think that, oh, people are just judging me, calling me fat. And that pains my heart, because it's not, for one, most of the time people are going to be cheering you on. When I see somebody that's running on the side of the road, no matter their size, their shape, how fast they're running, I want to cheer them on. That would be super crazy and weird of me to yell out my window and be like, woohoo, but that's how I feel about that. Or when I see people in the gym that are overweight and they are working hard, they're in there. And that's how I feel a lot of love and compassion towards those people, and just happy and excited for them because they're doing something for themselves. And so I see people in a positive light that way. And I know a lot of others think that way too. That's just awesome that people are pursuing their weight loss goals and turning towards a healthier lifestyle, and they're trying, and it's just awesome. So that's my first point I want to make about that, is that, it's not just, people say looking through rose-colored glasses. And I like to think the best of people. And if we want to be more positive people in general, we need to start thinking that way too, and giving people the benefit of the doubt. And here's the second thing, because there are bad eggs. There are people that are negative and nasty and mean. And so say someone is thinking something bad about you, or somebody's whispering to their friend about you. I heard this for the first time last year, and I love this saying. What you can say to yourself is, their opinion of me isn't my business. That's what you have to say to people. That's what you have to think. Who cares? Who cares what they think of you? You're doing something good for yourself. You are in there and you are getting at your goals. You're kicking ass. You're kicking butt, and you're in there and you're doing it, which is what matters. And you're going to start, the more consistent you are, the more you're the sooner you're going to see those results. You're going to start losing that weight and achieving your goals. So our number 6 self-destructive, sabotaging negative self-talk is magnification or minimization. And what this is when you are blowing things way out of proportion or blowing things off. And by that, I mean, say you have to recognize. So when you go in, and this is an example of, say you go in and you're working out and you are getting your heart rate up. And yes, we all reach that point of fatigue and like when you're trying to do a timed workout, or when you're going in there and you're trying to finish your reps of a set you're doing, or you're really pushing yourself. And in your mind, some people can say like, this is too much. I can't do this. I'm going to die. Oh, I'm going to die, which is not true. And this is magnification. So you're focusing on how tired your muscles feel, or the fatigue, which everyone feels this. Everyone feels this fatigue. Everyone gets tired. This is, we know that we're actually making progress in the gym and pushing ourselves and we're going to end up having better endurance and muscle growth because we're actually feeling this fatigue and we're wearing ourselves out in the gym, right? And so this is where people blow it out of proportion. Oh, I can't do this. I'm going to die. I can't do this. They get discouraged. And so these self-defeating thoughts start to happen. So when you start feeding into this, you aren't going to give it your all in the gym. You're going to quit your workout halfway through or even less. And then you're going to give up so fast with those types of thoughts. So except the way to defeat this, or a way to put a new spin on how to think about this, is when you start this, for instance, for me, I hated running. I've always loved lifting heavy things. And so that was my favorite form of, exercise or fitness was weightlifting. And I hated running, hated it. And that I was one of those people. I'm going to die. Somebody, please tell my family I love them. I'm going to die. And so I knew, though, when I started getting more into fitness, that I needed to make some changes as far as my endurance and cardiovascular health, because I was not doing good in that department. And so I started forcing myself to run, and it doesn't have to be running. If you have an issue with your joints or whatever it might be, you can do other exercises like swimming or row machine, low impact stuff. But regardless, so it sucks. So I started out small, and then I had to put myself in a positive frame of mind in order to run a mile. My first goal, it was painful running at 6.5 miles an hour at 0% incline and running for a mile. It was just terrible. And so I knew I ended up having to have a mental shift there and change the way I was thinking about it in order to achieve my goals. And so then what I ended up finding out, because I would accept the fact, okay, this is not going to be pleasant, but I started to see progress and get better at it. And that's what will happen with you, is you have to do this mental shift inside and say, okay, I expect and I know that I will be uncomfortable during these workouts, but that means there's going to be change. That means there's going to be growth. And then you start to adapt to it and you get excited because you start seeing this growth along with the discomfort. You have the discomfort and then you have growth and you see improvement. And so you start to enjoy these workouts and you see that you're making tremendous progress and it starts to get easier. And so that's what causes that momentum. Number 7 is called emotional reasoning. Apparently I can't talk. I feel like an idiot because I can't finish my sentences right on camera, so I must be one. So this is an example of emotional reasoning. So this is where you take your feelings to heart and whatever you're feeling inside, you take it as the truth. We're all going to have times still to this day I used to be really bad at this when I was growing up because I would feel a certain way and I would just roll with these emotions. And so I would think that, I would feel stupid in class, and then it would make me, well, I feel like I'm stupid, so I must be stupid. And so you label your whole self, your whole being, as the way that you're feeling, which is so destructive. And if I know you know this, if you take the step back, step outside of your feelings and evaluate the situation, you know the truth. Just because you are feeling like a failure doesn't mean you're one. Just because you feel like everyone is judging you, that doesn't mean that everyone is judging you. Whatever these feelings are, feelings can be good, but they can also be very misguiding, and we have to be so careful about that. Okay, so number 8 is should, or catastrophic statements. And this is where, for instance, you would be saying, this workout shouldn't be this hard for me, or sticking to this diet is awful, or my husband should be working out with me. This is where you're putting an expectation, a negative spin and expectation on the task at hand. And so you're implanting these little negative thoughts on how this should be, having these expectations that might be unrealistic. Your husband misses workout with you. That shouldn't be a predictor of whether you go or not. You can't put that absolute on it. You have to disconnect yourself from him or her, and you can't make that an expectation of your behaviors. Or another way to look at it, so this is how you have to spin a positive light on it. This workout, instead of saying this workout shouldn't be this hard for me, you say, this workout is difficult for many people, and I'm going to stick with it until I see progress. It might be difficult for me now, but it will get easier. See how there's an expectation of goodness in the future, and because as long 100%, if you work at it, say we'll use the example of the workout, if you work at this, you will see progress. I was much more guilty of this in my past, and it's a lot better than it was. But number 9 is labeling or identifying with shortcomings. And so this is where you say, I missed the gym today, I'm a freaking loser. And so this is obviously, because we're talking about it outside of the situation, it's easy for you to see right now, I'm sure, that no, one mess up does not define who you are and your identity. Or I had a cheat day, I ate that bowl of ice cream, and so now I'm a loser, I'm a failure. You're labeling and you are identifying your entire self as this person, as a failure and a loser. And this is one of the most self-destructive, very common habits that people have. And you need to pull yourself out of that place. Think about it. Just because you messed up that one time, does that sum up everything that you are? We are all human. We all make mistakes. All the time, over here, all the time. And this is where we just have to have compassion and some self-love. What would you say to your kid? What would you say to your best friend if they messed up and they felt terrible about themselves? So you need to pull yourself out of that situation. If you ever catch yourself calling yourself names, you need to just squash that out. And I know some of us have dealt with, some rough childhood upbringings, and maybe we are very used to identifying with those names, and we need to just squash that out. So number 10 is personalization and blame. And this is where The best way I can think to describe this one is where you kind of fall into this victim mentality and you're blaming yourself for things that weren't entirely your fault. For instance, this statement, I slipped and fell on the ice and I broke my ankle and I'm missing my workout sessions, my cardio, and I'm a failure. I screw up, or another one is, my husband didn't come with me to the gym. And so I'm missing my sessions and I'm a failure. Again, so you see where it kind of creates the snowball effect. And you are blaming, you're taking a victim stance. And so you're putting the weight, the responsibility. So first of all, with the ankle example, you're blaming your ankle. Yes, that's unfortunate. But because you're going to need some recovery time. There's times where we need recovery from the gym, or we're going to have periods where things happen in life, right? But you're taking this stance that you're beating yourself up over missing the gym, and you're not looking at it from a healthy point of view, which starts the snowball effect of you going and spiraling down into a point of falling off of the wagon of, going to the gym consistently. And it's going to derail you for a much longer period of time than it would if you had a healthier outlook on it. Okay, I got injured. I'm going to have a few days off here, but I will get back into the gym. And the other statement we were talking about with my husband, my spouse, they didn't go to the gym with me and I don't have any support from them. And so I'm a failure. And my life is super tough. I don't get any support from them. And so I'm not able to be consistent. Getting support is a huge deal. Having a support group at home especially is a big deal. And it really does make a difference with how consistent people are with going to the gym. But this is the thing. It would have less weight if you don't have that support at home. Who decides whether you go to the gym or not? Your spouse? No, you do. And so this is where we have to own it. Okay, it is harder when my husband doesn't want to go to the gym with me, but it's not his responsibility to get my butt out of bed and get my butt into the cold car, into the gym, and over there to go and do my workout. It's not his responsibility. And so when we get to a place where we can actually own this, and where we take responsibility for our actions, it will change. It hugely changes when you stop putting that blame on other people and taking that victim role. And this is huge as far as making progress in your life. When you start to go, okay, with everything, with all these self-talk, sabotaging ways that we can talk to ourselves and going, okay, this is my responsibility. I need to talk to myself better. I need to change these habits. And then you are identifying this problem, you're recognizing it and you're owning it, and you can move forward and start making progress when you get to that point. With all of that being said, it's incredibly important how we talk to ourselves. I have it, hopefully you're not seeing this backwards. As you think, so you are. And it talks about how we talk to ourselves, how we think of ourselves. That is who we become. So this is where we have to be this is my area of passion, because we have to be so careful about how we're talking to ourselves and really pay attention to how you're speaking to yourself, because it's one of two ways. It's in a positive light or it's in a negative light. And it's going to help excel you and accelerate you to success in your life, or it's going to be a hindrance to you and it's going to make you trip up all the time. And so this mindset is what is going to drive everything else in our lives. So here's my homework for you. I want you to take the time to sit and think about how you speak to yourself and really recognize how you are talking to yourself, and write down the negative things that you say to yourself. Take a piece of paper. I want you to draw a line down the middle, and on this left side, I want you to go ahead and write down the negative ways that you speak to yourself. Then on the other side of the piece of paper, I want you to come up with a game plan. So every time you catch yourself saying one of these negative things, I want you to have a plan. You have to be mindful in order to make changes with this stuff. And so have a plan. When you catch yourself, when you start having negative emotions and feelings, track down the thought that is attached to that, and then have a backup plan with the thought, the replacement, the positive replacement thought that you're going to have for that negative thought. So with that being said, let me know what ends up happening. Comment below. I want to hear some of the things that you struggle with, or maybe things you didn't even realize you were saying to yourself negatively. And then I want to hear about how you were replacing those with positive thoughts. Do a contrast. I really hope this helped you. I hope you enjoyed it. If anybody else would benefit from this, please share, comment, like, and spread the love, everybody. I'm here to help, and so ask any questions that you might have, and I hope you have an awesome day today.